Because I'm still a good person. And
Well, you are. Who defines good?
me and
Right.
people in my
I'm
life.
a good person. Wow. I'm a great person. Steal it. I'm a great person.
Yeah,
Knife it.
but
I'm a good person,
no,
guys.
No, here's the difference. Because you know that people who steal are bad, and you know that doesn't define what a good person is. So you would not be able to tell
You've
people.
got to be kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
You think
no
white
jokes,
South Africans
no jokes, no punch.
really thought apartheid was wrong?
Wait,
You think the white slaveholders in the United States really thought down deep that slavery was wrong?
Maybe. I
You
don't
think
know. Why does
Hitler
it matter?
thought that gassing Jews was really wrong?
Wait, yes,
You think Adolf Eichmann really thought that gassing Jews was wrong?
He thought it was right.
You think that America really thought that blowing Hiroshima and Nagasaki off the map was wrong? You think that
No, I
Hamas
don't.
really understood that slaughtering a few thousand Jews was really wrong? Give me a break.
What? I'm not giving you any breaks. What is that? Like, I don't understand.
You can know Jesus Christ.
Okay.
I know him, but the reason I put my faith in him is because the evidence of the way he lived, taught, died, and rose from the dead is he's reliable. So based on that evidence of reliability, I've taken a step of faith and trusted in him. But this faith is a response to evidence.
Isn't that faith so much more shallow? Prove
Understand.
it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And also fully. Of course you could. If
What human being has exhaustive knowledge in any branch of knowledge? No. What postdoc student in biology knows everything there is to know about biology? Nobody.
That's why we formed it.
I don't have exhaustive knowledge of my wife. I don't have exhaustive knowledge of God. But I have partial knowledge. But I've got enough evidence to keep going to deepen the
I
relationship.
don't think you have. I would challenge that and say I don't think you have any evidence for God. I want to know what is evidence for God.
Well, thanks for asking.
Yes.
Because
I think we have two very different, and I know you like to talk about that, but yeah,
Good.
we might have two very different ideas as what constitutes as evidence. So I'd love to hear it.
BMW came about as a result of a hurricane passing through a junkyard. Stupid. Flies in the face of evidence.
Yeah, but that's a false analogy. That's just not. I would just say that story you provided just doesn't serve as a very good representation as to how the world works.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Okay.
I think atheists are irrationally out to lunch when they argue that chaos produces order by chance.
Why? That's because we're all irresponsible.
Because every bit of my observation of reality is chaos does not produce order by chance.
But you realize that's because chaos took you here. It's because you can only experience the world in which it actually happened.
Yeah.
There are millions.
And the world that I live in,
the Big Bang, whatever, all these collisions, they happen millions and millions and millions of times, but only we got to experience the one time where it worked. So even you experiencing that, it's still totally subjective and doesn't necessarily say anything.
no, it's an observation that I'm making.
Okay.
My observation is this did not happen by accident.
No, it did.
Orderly drift.
this is Mike.
In a sense.
This outfit.
Oh, give me a break.
I'm sorry.
Give me
I'm
a
so
break.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you.
You're so
I love-
dishonest and
No,
scary.
I love you. I love your content.
I love you.
Yes.
But you're playing a game.
No,
You know very well that this is not an accident. This is not an accident.
It was. I will say.
This is not an accident. This is not an
I wouldn't
accident.
say, I wouldn't say it's an accident in the same way my parents accidentally had me. But it's still in a very cosmic sense an accident, right?
You're
No,
not
not right.
kidding.
It is right.
Your mom and dad did not accidentally have you.
No, they definitely did.
No, they had sex.
No,
Yeah, if they would not have sex, you wouldn't be born.
I cannot just assume these things. I also, like you, try to have an evidence-based relationship with a lot of information.
Good.
And I have decided through that lens, through my own research, that this is something that cannot happen. Or
Okay.
That there are assumptions that I am not willing to make because
Right.
I don't find them to be inherently true.
Okay.
And that's most religion, but that's the objective of science, is to be able to objectively make no assumptions about what's going on here and say what is going on. It's not to say, assuming that God exists, this is how you get morality, and this is how we got this, and this is how we got this. No, it's saying no assumptions. We can't assume anything. We can only assume what we can observe, and we are describing observable behavior.
Okay.
Yes.
What's real simple?
Okay.
Could you please scientifically prove to me that unless you can prove something scientifically, it's not true?
It's how I define science is as when you can't assume anything, there's no other variables to assume. It's a purely logical. It's a logical proposition. What I'm saying is a logical proposition. It's a definition.
Your statement that unless you can prove something scientifically, you can't accept it as true, that's a philosophy. You're limiting all of knowledge to science. I feel very sorry for you. No, sir, there's historical truth. Barack Obama was not first president of the United States. George Washington was. Okay? Lincoln was assassinated.
Okay.
Not because we can scientifically prove that, but because we understand historical knowledge is real.
No.
And when a guy debates against me that slavery never took place in the United States, he's an idiot.
No.
Because the overwhelming historical evidence is slavery did take place in the United States.
Yeah, but historical evidence is not scientific based proof.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't know that that happened in the same way that we know science happens.
Not
And also,
the same
a lot of
way.
sciences
By the way,
are
you're
extremely-
describing historiography, which is a type of science.
I disagree. I don't call it. Wait,
It is a type of science, but it's not.
just verbiage.
It's just how we.
You're describing it.
I define science as knowledge based on repeatability. You've got to be able to repeat it, otherwise it's not science. You don't repeat Lincoln's assassination, Gandhi's assassination, George Washington. Rather, that's historical knowledge which is based on eyewitness testimony.
But it's not objectively true.
Yes, it is objectively true.
No, it's not. It objectively happened or it didn't happen, but our relationship with it can only be subjectively experienced.
It's true of all knowledge.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not, because that's what science.
Prove to me
that's
that
what
your
science
eyesight
is.
perceives reality.
Well, I'm
prove to
blind in
me-
one eye, so I don't know.
Prove to me that your brain puts you in touch with reality. Prove it.
You can't.
You can't exactly. So that's why I say, in one sense, all knowledge is subjective.
No, there are.
Yes.
No. That's not true because. So yes, they're all based off of subjective things that we choose to experience, but then how we logically come to other conclusions based off that information is technically logical. It's given the assumptions I'm coming to new information. Our intuitive reasoning, our want to reason, the
Yeah.
intuitive want to reason,
Yeah.
is constantly interacting with our intuitive cognition and the presumptions that we make about the world. So just the want to develop a reasoning skill, like I intuitively feel that murder is wrong, right? But if nobody challenges me on that throughout my life, I'll never form the rhetoric to explain why it is. But as we engage with other people, we can change that intuitive reasoning skill. When we start thinking about morality, we can influence how we intuitively judge situations. So our reasoning skills.
What do you mean intuitively judge?
I mean, I intuitively know that, like, if you ask me, is it wrong to steal?
Is it wrong to steal?
Yes, of course. I don't even have to think about it.
Why?
Why? Because I could, but I don't have to.
No.
I don't know.
It's
You don't
not
have
wrong for me to steal
Yes, it is.
this.
Yes, it is. Because I say
Why?
it is.
Why is it wrong for me to steal
Because I
this?
said it is. Because I said it is.
Big whoop. I said it's right.
Right. And that's the end of the conversation. That's
No,
all
it's
you
not
can
the
get
end of
out
the conversation.
That's all you can get out of moral
By any
statements.
means.
Yes, I say it's wrong and you say it's right, and that's it. And that's it. And we might develop rhetoric to try to defend ourselves, and I might poke holes in your rhetoric and you might poke holes in mine.
No.
But all they are is just saying, oh, that's the way it is.
Nope.
You said that reason cannot come out of non-reason, and that's absolutely not true. This is like well-documented psychological evidence. So like when you study linguistics, you have an understanding that our objective, our reasoning capabilities are constantly influenced by our intuitive cognition and our immediate cognition.
What does that mean?
It means that not everything is either fact or feelings. You can't isolate those two things. The way we engage with facts and the reason why we build our reasoning capabilities isn't because we intuitively want to. So the intuitive want to reason, like to be here with you and to talk about these sort of things, the intuitive want to do that is still something that's based off of a feeling. So yes, our intuitive reasoning skills and our intuitive cognition and our reasoning skills are constantly intermingling with each other, and that is how you get reason out of non-reason.
That was a great sleight of hand.
Okay. What do you call it? Relativism? Is that what you call it? It's a description of the world. It describes why we have different moral takes.
Yeah, and I disagree with it.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
And all the
you
good
want to-
atheist philosophers disagree with the idea
that
that if there is no God,
Okay.
you can have moral absolutes. Be it Nietzsche, Camus,
I think
Sartre,
that's ridiculous.
any of those. Oh no, it's totally rational.
No, it's not rational.
Well, then who defines a moral absolute? Who defines a moral absolute?
Any person who uses it in a sentence, like that's how words get their definitions. See,
That's scary.
No, it's not scary at all.
That's a scary
That's
view.
actually
Because what
just
you're
a
saying
basic,
is
well-documented
perception
linguistics and cognitive
defines
psychology.
reality.
You just need to read the literature.
Perception
It's scientific literature.
defines
You just have
reality.
to go read it.
And I would say, if
This
my
is-
perception of him is he's inferior because he has a different ethnic heritage, my perception is wrong. I would
I think
insist
it's wrong.
he and I have equal
Yeah.
value for a reason, because God created us in his image.
You say that like it invalidates any other person. No, it doesn't invalidate. Like when we have different moral opinions, it doesn't. Neither of us get invalidated. We still feel it as equally. Like nobody. Yeah, I can still sit here and say, hey, it's wrong to discriminate against people based on the color of their skin. I don't need to believe in God to do that.
That's sad.
No, it's not sad.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not because I'm still a good person. And
Well, you are. Who defines good?
me and
All right.
people in my
So I'm a
life.
good person. Wow. I'm a great person. Steal it. I'm a great person. Knife him.
But
I'm a good person,
no,
guys.
No, here's the difference. Because you know that people who steal are bad, and you know that doesn't define what a good person is. So you would not be able to tell
You've
people.
got to be kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
You think
No
white
jokes.
South Africans
No jokes. No punchline.
really thought apartheid was wrong?
Wait,
You think the
it was
white slaveholders in the United States really thought down deep that slavery was wrong?
Maybe. I
You
don't
think
know. Why does
Hitler
it matter?
thought that gassing Jews was really wrong?
Wait, yes,
You
he-
think Adolf Eichmann really thought that gassing Jews was wrong?
He thought it was right.
You think that America really thought that blowing Hiroshima and Nagasaki off the map was wrong? You think that
No, I
Hamas
don't.
really understood that slaughtering a few thousand Jews was really wrong? Give me a break.
What? I'm not giving you any breaks. What is that? Like, I don't understand. I don't know. I don't know if it was wrong.
Morality is relative.
I still have an opinion on it. That doesn't stop me from forming
Yeah, but it's a relative opinion. It's just an opinion.
Exactly, because that's all it
Do
can
you have
be.
an
That's all-
opinion about broccoli and corn? Which is better, broccoli or corn?
Boom. Exactly.
Totally
Done.
relative.
Totally relative.
You think broccoli or corn is better?
broccoli? Okay.
And we're not talking about an absolute here. We're talking about a taste. So, do you think me slapping him is wrong?
Yeah.
Do you think me slapping him is wrong?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But all he has to say is no. Like that's the thing. Like all he has to say is no, and then you just say, well, you're wrong. You only it's only when you
You're wrong because.
no. It's only when you interact
Why is
with-
date rape wrong?
I guess I don't have a reason, but I just.
Oh, that's sad.
Wait, what?
That is
It's wrong.
really sad.
I don't. I do have a reason. I just like.
Good. What is your reason?
Why
Why
does
is
it matter?
date rape
Why
wrong?
does it matter?
Why does it
It's
matter?
wrong.
Because too many women get date raped. That's
Yeah,
why it
and we
matters.
know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. Okay.
Oh,
but
well, the date rapist didn't know it's wrong.
But hold on. This is actually why it's so important as humans. We establish rhetoric around morality.
That's right.
Because
So we're going to get all those date rapists, so we're going to have a little rhetoric class.
you're so.
And we're going to talk about rhetoric.
Because we
And that, you guys, is why you should not
I need
date
to
rape.
explain
Because
to
we had a
other
rhetoric class.
people doing wrong.
Sorry, guys.
So I would say if you intuitively value people's autonomy and you intuitively value the decisions that women make with their bodies, then you should not date rape somebody.
That's sad.
There are levels of intuition that we all cater to. We all think that stealing is wrong.
No, we don't.
No.
Why do we lock our doors?
Because stealing is
Because we know there are a lot of people
No.
who think stealing's wrong.
I know, but I'm just saying, like generally, most people, we would agree that stealing is wrong. And by the way, not everybody that steals think it's right. Sometimes they have to provide for their family.
Sure.
Okay, but we all intuitively agree that there's some, and not necessarily, we might not, but generally speaking, on the human
Okay.
population, there are things that we've come to agree that are wrong. We think there's a unjust way to kill people. We think there's an unjust way for taking people's lives or taking property from people. Like these are things that they're subjective, but we agree on them, which is why we're sometimes able to like get together and do. But that's still subjective.
No, I'll tell you why it's so frustrating to talk with you.
Okay.
Because you have bought into perception defines reality.
And you can't prove me wrong, and that's why you're.
Oh, I sure can.
No.
If my perception is that he is not standing there, I'm going to be wrong right about now.
Yeah, but you don't believe that. You don't believe it. Like
There
it's
are
still
many
perception.
times that my perception has told me something that the next day I realized was
Blind
wrong.
people walk into things all the time. They're like that's it's just the nature of perception.
You
Like
got to
just-
get in touch with reality.
And just because it's objectively there doesn't mean they're not going to walk into
You just
it.
can't define
Human
perception defines reality.
Subjective.
I think we have our differences here, but
Yeah.
we can agree that the weather today here pretty gloomy, pretty bad. So I want to ask you, what religious factors really go into the weather, And for you, how can we change that? And how can we make this?
Who are you? Actually, wait.
That's just like, what do you think? I don't know who this guy is, but he's gonna keep talking. So, what do you think about that?
Wait. Are you dressed up as an Orthodox
No, I'm
right
not.
now? Like, that's real payas.
I'm asking a question.
You're asking him about Jews controlling the weather?
No, I'm asking about what religious factors he thinks can control the weather.
Okay, I just want to know if you're trolling.
I'm not trolling.
Okay,
It's a serious question, actually.
okay, because that would be f***ed up. Yeah, like that your hair doesn't look like a hat.
I have a serious
That's not a hat that a Jewish person would wear.
Yo, I'm asking a question.
Okay, yeah. It's just like that. No, it's not traditional. No, it's just like I would never see an Orthodox Jew in that hat.
When it quiets down, I'll answer your question.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I'm Jewish. Like I know.
So am I.
The worldview that says there's a God who created is a worldview that says nature is valuable because nature's not an accident. Nature is a good creation. The worldview of the follower of Christ is I am to use this day for a purpose, to serve God by taking care of people. I could do that as a civil engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, a homemaker, plumber, carpenter. A worldview of the follower of Christ is when I go to my first job interview, the bottom line question is not how much money do I make, but rather what passions and gifts has God given me that I can best use to serve God by serving humanity. The worldview of the follower of Christ is regarding the weather.
Yes.
At times, nature breaks down.
Yep.
God created a good creation, but this good creation has run amok. When we human beings told God to take a hike, he partially honored our request, took a step back from planet Earth, and chaos erupted. So, I had melanoma removed here 6 months ago. Melanoma, not a good skin cancer to have. Not something that God created, but as a result of human rebellion against God, genetic breakdown, nature's cursed. If a person has a philosophy of life or a religion that does not take sin seriously, they're living in la-la land. What Hamas did to Israel, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in the divorce rate in the United States, are all clear examples of bullying, sin, meanness, racism, and that leads to some pretty destructive things.
Yeah, but you can.
Jesus Christ comes to forgive. Jesus Christ comes to change the human heart. I mean, think about it. Great school here, UT Austin, and date rape occurs. Where kids nuts? What on earth is going on? It's evil, guys. And if your worldview basically says, well, we're all just accidents, so it really doesn't matter, it's all relative, that is despair. Total despair.
That was crazy.
I'm not convinced Jesus does anything divine because you know as well as I know, like in the Old Testament, and like you have miracle workers, people that you like prophets that do, amazing, completely supernatural things, but they're done through like they'll pray to God first, and God does it. Good. Right?
Great point.
And a lot of Christians will say, well, the thing that separates Jesus is because Jesus does it of his own accord.
Yes.
Right? He's not praying to God.
Exactly.
But before he raises Lazarus,
He
says,
does pray.
Then Jesus looked up and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me.
Yeah.
I know that you always hear me.
Yeah.
But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you have sent me.
Yeah.
So this is kind of coming across
Yeah.
to me as even when he is not out loud
Yeah.
praying to God before
Yeah.
he's doing these miracles,
Yeah.
he's saying it in here that he's doing it silently within himself.
Yeah.
So that to me says that, like, is he really doing these miracles of his own accord, or is he not? Because from that passage right before he raises Lazarus, he's
Yeah.
praying out loud there.
Good.
He's basically saying, in all of the other miracles that I have done or
Yeah.
will do, I'm still praying. You're
Yeah.
just not hearing me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's kind of the question I'm asking, where it's like, that to me, now is he any different from any of the prophets that have come before?
Very good. And I would argue, yes. I would argue you're doing a great job getting in touch with the mystery of Christmas, the mystery of the incarnation, in other words, the mystery of God humbling himself, limiting himself, and becoming a human being in Jesus of Nazareth.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of complexity to that, obviously.
Yes, but I mean, but what would you say is an answer to that?
The answer to that is because God is God, he's the creator of the cosmos, He can choose to limit himself and become a human being in order to reveal himself most clearly to us human beings.
Why would he pray to himself?
Okay, good. He's not praying to himself, except in one theoretical sense, because he's part of God, God the Son, becoming a human being, self-limiting. Remember, he didn't know everything. In fact, he didn't know the day or hour of his return. He said, no, I don't know when I'm coming back. Only the Father knows.
He has these human qualities and tendencies, and it's like he has these friendships and he builds these relationships, and he forgives,
Yes.
and he's
Yes.
tempted, and he.
Yes.
But I mean, like that. Yeah, those are human attributes.
Right.
But if you actually look at like the actions and the things that he does,
Yeah.
and the message that he preaches,
Yeah.
it's like, to me, as a reader,
Yes.
pretty different from the message that is preached in the Old Testament, and the message of the God that's preached in the Old Testament. I don't think that they are of the same nature.
Okay. Here's why I disagree. The illustration that you gave is Genesis 18, where Abraham talks to God about destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. And he says, what about their 50 righteous people, God? You still going to wipe them out? God says, all right, no. What about 45, 40, 35, 30, 20, 10? And he stops at 10. And God says, no, if there are 10 righteous people there, I'm not going to wipe it out. All right, Abraham is struggling through the justice of God. Is God a just judge? Or is he going to destroy people accidentally, wantonly? And the clear message is no. God is just, Abraham. You can trust him to judge fairly, even though you don't understand it all.
About these outside the Bible, I'm basically saying there's a lack of expertise, the lack of biblical sources talks about this.
Okay, but that's assuming that Jesus was this incredibly popular person in Rome, and he wasn't. The Romans viewed Jesus and the Jews as a bunch of misfits. They were not, the Roman historians were not interested in Jesus in the slightest, or the Jew. They thought he was an idiot. Probably another insurrectionist. And just because a bunch of people didn't write about Muhammad doesn't mean they can't have historical knowledge about Muhammad. But people tell me Muhammad didn't exist, I feel sorry for them. The overwhelming historical evidence is Muhammad existed. So did Siddhartha Gautama Buddha. And to say, the way Hume did, that in order for us to be able to ascertain whether a miracle took place, you have to have supernatural evidence that it took place, I think that's dishonest. No. If you do something that's natural, and I said I'll write a history. If you do a miracle, I'll write it. But I can't turn the camera back and say, okay, now do it again so I can make sure I got it right.
So what makes the Bible reliable for you? Why do you trust what's being said over any other book produced?
I don't trust the Bible over the Quran when it comes to learning about Jesus or Muhammad. Okay, I read them both. The evidence is the Quran is reliable historically, the New Testament is reliable historically, and I read them as history, and I ask myself, does the evidence point to Muhammad being reliable or not? Then I read the Gospels. Does the evidence point to Jesus being reliable or not? And then based on the historical evidence, I make my decision.
Everything at the end is meaningless, but can you make meaning out of everyday life? I think is the most important part.
Sure, you can create your own meaning. I think you do it now, right?
Yeah.
But then my question to you is, isn't there something within you, Henry, that desires for there to be real meaning in life?
Well, how do you define real meaning, I guess?
That there really is a purpose for Henry?
Purpose.
That there really is a value to Henry? That when you do justice, that is really good, and when you do injustice, that's really bad. Isn't that very appealing?
Perhaps, but at the same time, this is like really, I'm not trying to describe it, like, you guys to define justice again, right? You guys define injustice.
Good. And I would argue it takes a thinking mind, which means you and I do it, unless there's a mind behind us, creator. Then this creator creates us for a purpose, and we live that purpose out. And it's real. In other words, is it real that you have value? If that is real, then for me to smack you, for me to have a racist attitude towards you is evil.
That would be
Real evil.
That would, yeah.
Make sense?
That makes sense.
And I think, Henry, that when it comes to your relationships, that's the way you live your life. I don't think if you get married and your wife is unfaithful to you, that you're going to look her in the face and say, oh, well.
Probably not.
Right.
When I think of a higher being, I'm willing to like acknowledge that there may be one, that there may be not. But I guess like it's the way I perceive it, I just really like when we don't care, I guess. I just
Good. Why? That's the issue right there.
yeah.
Why don't you care if there is a higher being to get to know him, her, it, them, whatever that higher being is?
Because like,
Why
I
is
just
that
said,
not
like,
attractive?
if this higher being exists, right, they would
Yeah.
dictate just and not just, I guess. They would have like a set of, I guess, impartiality rules that would define, I guess I just say justice and not justice, or value
Yeah.
and meaningless, like meaningful, meaning and meaningless, I guess, the lack of meaning, that's
Yeah.
what that word is, right?
Yeah.
And so, one, I believe it would be really hard to actually be able to, I mean, the only way to actually, I guess, like in my view, to
Yeah.
perfectly identify that fine line was to go to that individual himself, have like a really deep conversation, maybe read a law book that exists like big themselves wrote, right?
Good.
But I guess like from what I understand of Christianity, you don't actually like meet God, Jesus until you die, no? Or am I incorrect in that?
You meet God, but you're right. It's not in a physical sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in a spiritual sense. But you don't audibly hear his voice. You can't grab him.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's intangible, the spirit. So you're not going to grab hold of him. But no, you enter a spiritual relationship with him where you begin to grapple with the fact he really does love me. He really does love you. He's concerned about us. He wants us to live eternity with him in heaven. So that means he really does treasure us and value us.
Is there no space for something? Who knows?
And then when you get to know him by trusting in him, you build a relationship with him. And then from that relationship flows morality, meaning, human value, purpose, and then hope for eternity.
Let's say, for instance, I did believe in God, and I
Yes.
did connection. How could we share really connection to the same God? What if we interpreted his words the same?
Good. Very good. If God really loves us, I don't think he's going to let us screw up. Unless we deliberately screw up.
Or perhaps that's his way of showing love to us, because when we screw up, you learn, right? I guess.
Okay. And minor screw ups, yes. But no, I don't think he wants me to go
Okay, not
murder.
yeah, of course,
to make
not
sure that I know that murder is wrong. Right? No, he wants us to live a life of dignity, of integrity, of compassion, of forgiveness. And then as we begin to experience the goodness of that life, we begin to see, oh yes, God is reliable. Christ is trustworthy. Because we experience the fulfillment, we experience how that works. See, what I'm trying to, Henry, what I'm trying to say is, your view of reality, I don't think works. Because your view of reality is it's all meaningless. But you can't live that way.
No, I think, like in a pessimistic basic way, at the end of everything, like in a material way, it is kind of meaningless because it's all going to be erased. But I still believe that there is meaning to the life in itself, right? To be able to like impact others, to do good for others, to be able to leave like a legacy on this.
Who defines good? See, I would argue you're living off the fumes of the Judeo-Christian worldview, which is good is real. And Henry knows it and Cliff knows it. Right?
That's
Right? Because we have a conscience. Well, where does the conscience come from? And these values that our consciences tie us into, are they real or are they totally meaningless? Are they totally arbitrary? And I think if you're going to say they're totally meaningless and arbitrary, then I want you to live it out. The same way, I hope that if I tell you I'm a follower of Christ and you watch me go out and womanize, you're going to say, whoa, 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 time
Yeah,
out.
of course. That's not
You are a hypocrite, right?
Wait a minute.
Exactly, wait a minute. You say you believe one thing, but you're not willing to live it out. See, that's my point to my atheist agnostic point. If you say that life is meaningless, let's watch you live it out.
So would you say that technically God's doing the same then? That he's essentially just a set of rules that people must follow to stay moral and...
Great question. Only 4 options that I know of. The answer to the question, who defines good and evil?
Exactly, so that's kind of...
First is majority.
Yeah.
That's democracy. The majority define it. Secondly, the power elite, King Arthur and his knights. Right, they do it. Thirdly, the individual. And then fourthly, God. I don't know of another fifth one. So, but anyway, I think that democracy at times does well and at times it stinks.
Definitely agree with that.
Okay? I think that the power elite at times do well, at times they stink.
Also,
I think that I have done a good job at times, but at times I stink.
definitely, I agree. And me.
And when I look at Jesus Christ, I am very impressed with the way he teaches, that he lives up to that incredibly high ethical standard that he taught, then he dies forgiving his enemies, and then he rises from the dead. And therefore the evidence is he's more reliable than the majority, King Arthur, me, Cliff. That's why I trust him.
One of my great friends, her mom just got diagnosed with brain cancer.
All right, I'm so sorry.
Is hopefully she's gonna be okay. But
Yep.
like, is her mom getting brain cancer? Is that part of God's plan?
No.
God's purpose?
Nope.
And where does that come from?
God allows it to happen because God has chosen to partially limit his power by giving us a free will.
Right.
And because God chose to limit his power by giving us a free will, there is slavery, there's date rape, there are horrible things that happen in the world. Because we human beings have seen God get lost, he steps back from planet Earth, and chaos erupts.
I think it's just a hard distinction because it's very typical. Like, someone, you know, gets in an accident and they're like, I know that God has a plan for me through all of this, but so then God has a purpose, and God knows everything that's going to happen in our lives.
Okay.
Do you see where I'm going
Of
with?
course I do. I hate it a lot of times. Oh, you're getting onto a great point, okay? And so thanks for raising it. One of the biggest problems is the misinterpretation of the Bible.
Right.
The Bible doesn't contradict itself, but the interpretations of the Bible contradict each other. The verse that a lot of people use to justify what you've been saying is Romans 8:28. We know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. And some people have misinterpreted that to say, oh, well, God thinks everything that happens is good.
Right.
No, that is not what that verse is saying. What that verse is saying is God is big enough, loving enough, and powerful enough to work in the most horrible situation to bring some good out of it.
I feel like my logical brain is kind of holds me back from that.
Yes.
Sometimes, like, go to church, I pray, I read my Bible, but there's just something there that's like, I feel like I can't fully accept.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think it is? Give it your best shot. What do you think it is that's holding you back?
I think it's just too big for me, almost.
Too
Like,
big
the
for you.
idea,
Okay.
it's just so much. I feel like my brain is too small to comprehend, like, the idea of God.
Well, I'm right with you. There ain't no way this mind's going to understand God. Yeah, no. Totally, no. But guess what? That's also true of biology.
Right.
There's no postdoc student that knows all there is to know about biology. In fact, nobody has exhaustive knowledge of any field of knowledge, right? No chemist understands all the chemistry. No historian knows everything about history.
Right.
So you're right. We all have partial knowledge. But you've got enough knowledge to trust people. A friend, who is, the evidence is your friend's not out to rip you off. So you trust your friend, right? And I think we have enough evidence for us as thinking people to trust Christ. What is that evidence? He lived a sinless life. He taught amazing ethical teachings. Obviously, the guy who taught the Sermon on the Mount was an ethical genius. Whoever it was, but it was Jesus who taught the Sermon on the Mount. You know, obviously, you watch him die on a cross, loving and forgiving his enemies. Whoa!
Right.
And then obviously you see him rising from the dead. Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's not proof, but it's evidence that you can trust this guy. But then here's the awkward thing. The awkward thing is you have a God, you have an idol. We all do. You know, you're dressed beautiful. You're very attractive, okay? It didn't happen by accident already. You have motives. You're a student here at UT?
Yes, sir.
Fine School of Higher Learning. You know, you're not here by accident. You have some ambition. So all you got to do is ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice the most for? What am I willing to sacrifice the most time, money, and effort for? And that's your idol.
Right.
That's your God. Be it intellectualism, be it pleasure, be it money. So we all have some idol or some God that we sacrifice for. Time, money, and effort.